What's up, Caps fans and Caps bandwagon fans? So, after a stressful series, the Caps have beat the Flyers in 6 games. They had the 3-0 lead on them, gave up a couple. Caps fans are a little bit shaky because of our team history, but we pulled it out in 6. And despite the fact that I was telling everyone in person, oh, I'm not worried, the Caps got this, I was pretty worried, especially after that first loss. So, to recap the series, the Caps played really well in Game 1, really well in Game 2, really well in Game 3 and got under the Flyers' skin. Terribly in Game 4, we got outplayed for 40 of the 60 minutes. Outlucked in Game 5, we outplayed the Flyers. We got 4 times as many shots and still lost to them 2-0. And then won in Game 6 where we outplayed the Flyers, but it looked like a more even match. So what happened? Why did the Caps go up 3 and then suddenly lose 2 in a row to a team that it seemed like we were dominating? So this is the first time in Caps history that they've gone up by 3 wins in a series. And maybe the Caps weren't expecting Dave Hackstall's team to actually show up. Maybe they weren't expecting the Flyers players to compose themselves after that embarrassing Game 3 that they had. But regardless of the reason, the Caps, they adjusted to the Flyers' adjustment, and they ended up winning. So what did the Flyers actually do differently to shut us down in the Game 4 and Game 5? Well, they did a couple of things. One, they completely boxed us out of their offensive zone. We were not able to get any traffic in front of the net, and because of that, the quality of our shots and the quality of our scoring chances went way down. Two, the Caps were not getting the power plays that they were getting in Games 1 through 3 because the Flyers started keeping their heads. I don't know what Hackstall told them, but they started to listen. 3, the Flyers were really good at the breakout and really good at forcing us to make bad passes in the neutral zone. If you look back the last couple of games, our breakouts were awful. The Flyers were putting pressure on us, and then they also had that extra guy back to prevent any odd man break. 4, and this kind of goes along with number 1, the Flyers were kind of shelling themselves in, and they were making this little tiny circle around Michael Neuvirth, and because of that, we were not able to get the shots through. Game 4, we got absolutely outplayed by the Flyers. It looked like the Caps didn't really show up. We came out, we had a weak first period, an even weaker second period, and it looked like they didn't decide to start doing anything until the third period. So it was very resemblant of how the Caps played at the end of the regular season after the All-Star break. And if any of you were out there like me, you were starting to sweat a little bit because seeing the Caps break down after having a big series lead is a big problem that our organization has had in the past and the recent history, including last year. And then Game 5 really got into our heads because we got outlucked. Ryan White had a lucky bounce off of Taylor Chorney's skate, which gave them the 1-goal lead, which is all they needed to win that game because Nuvi shut us out. And then they got that empty netter on the 11th or 12th shot of the game, and that solidified that win for them. Okay, enough of the negatives because there are plenty of positives to take out of this series. 1, we started playing a complete 60 minutes for most of the games. Aside from Game 4, I'm pretty sure we outplayed the Flyers like the entire series. Our passes started connecting. We were getting great offensive generation from all angles. We had guys that were showing up that were playing kind of average in the regular season. Most importantly, it looked like our slow starts were a thing of the past for a while there. The Caps started actually playing really well coming out of the gates. We may have been taking stupid penalties, but, that's kind of a thing early in the playoffs when the teams get really physical with each other. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of static. And I think that we're going to adjust to it. Even against the Pens, I don't expect anywhere near as gritty of a series as we had against the Flyers. 2, our penalty kill was on point. And one of the main reasons for that is one man named Jay Beagle. Holy shit. He was on fire. He was blocking all sorts of shots. He was clearing the zone. In Game 6, he was out there for part of that 5-on-3 for 2 minutes. He blocked the shot with his chest and cleared the zone. I can't give him enough credit. He was amazing this series. And his game didn't just end at the penalty kill. He was playing well all around. Every aspect of his game was great. He was making great passes. He had great opportunities. He was finishing. And that's something that the Caps had trouble with during the regular season. And Jay Beagle shows up and does it. Another guy that I was really happy with this series was John Carlson. In the first 3 games, his offensive production was unbelievable. Especially looking at his game in the latter half of the season, you would not have expected him to turn up, but he absolutely did. And yeah, his generation kind of tapered off in the later part of the series there, but he still was part of the reason that we won it in 6. And another guy that turned up this series was Daniel Winnick. This man, he's fast as hell. He's winning all the corner battles. His cycle is incredible. And, that's something that I don't talk about that often is the cycling in the offensive zone. This man knows how to do it, and he knows how to rock it. And, he was also winning all the corner battles. He was on 1-on-2 against a bunch of Flyers defense, and he was still getting the puck out of there, getting it to our point, getting it to the guy behind the net. He just played incredible. And even though he doesn't have a lot of stats to his name, especially in this series, it didn't matter because he was playing fantastic. He was a very good team player this series. Another guy who seemed to reclaim his game was Nick Backstrom. He started to show up in these games, and obviously he gets the game winner in Game 6, the only goal of the game. It was a wonderful, wonderful one-time snapshot that went right over Nuvi. I can't say enough good things about this guy. It seemed like his passes started to get better. He was playing actually a really physical game too, and I have to give him a lot of praise as well. Some guys I wasn't happy with were Justin Williams, and primarily it's because he took 3 penalties in the first period in a very pertinent Game 5 that we could have won, but he needs to just control his stick. They weren't malicious or anything. He wasn't taking bad like intentional penalties. He was just not controlling his stick that well. And another guy was Jason Chimera. It looked like he was playing a completely different game out there. He had the trickle-in goal from center ice in Game 2. But other than that, I didn't see much out of him. It looked like his passing game was completely gone. It looked like he was a turnover machine. And, maybe this is the sign that he's, getting old and, maybe time for retirement. And that really pains me to say that because, he had a 40 or 41 point season this year, and I really like the guy. He's a great, team player, but, he's just not the same as he used to be. I won't say too much about guys playing that badly because it seemed like as a team we were playing the more complete game than we have in a long time, primarily since, December or November. But we played very well as a team. There were a lot of parts of our game that I was very happy with, and one thing that was key, especially earlier on in the series, was our power play. Our power play was incredible, even though it didn't really show up in the last part of the series. Even though we had some opportunities in the last game there, we didn't capitalize on them. It looked like Nuvi kind of had us figured out, and it makes sense because he worked with our system for the longest time, and he was just getting to where the puck was going to be fast enough to make those saves, especially the big saves on Ovi. John Carlson's shots from the point were getting knocked down. Kuznetsov's, his passes were taken away. But, we have a very good power play, and it's showing up again. And we have the best power play percentage in the league going into the second series. All in all, I really would have liked it if the Caps had either swept or won in 5 games, but I'm happy that we won in 6. And now we get a little bit of a rest, and we finish our series only 1 day after the Penguins do, so we get about an equal amount of rest, and this is going to be the toughest series of the entire playoffs. I firmly believe that if we beat the Penguins in this series, we are going all the way to win the Cup. And the same can be said about the Penguins this year too. I think if they beat us this next round, they're going to go all the way to win the Cup. I think this is going to be the big heavyweight matchup of the entire Stanley Cup playoffs this year. It's going to be very tough for us, I think, especially when they have guys like Matt Murray who, for whatever reason, is just showing up in net all of a sudden. He's playing out of his mind. Even though they're plagued by a few injuries here and there, they're still playing the best team in the league right now. And we've really got to bring it to them, and we got to bring it to them fast. Anyway, I think my final message of this video is that we are not the same team that we were in the past. Yeah, we've had habits perpetuate from the early 1980s until just last year, but I believe that this first series really showed that we're a different team than we were back then. We've got a different coach. We've got better players. We picked up some great guys during the offseason and during the regular season that really changed our game. And I think that we can rest a little bit easier knowing this. And I know we've said that before, and I know personally I've said that before plenty of times, but this time I am really actually feeling it. And it kind of helps that we didn't have to go to Game 7 in a series for once. So anyway, until next time, let's go Caps.